Hi and welcome to lesson 3. In lesson 3 we're going to go through a couple of different things: how to generate random numbers, how to use variables in your code, and how to add code comments. So in the previous lessons we created a commission calculator. In this lesson we're going to create a new project and we're going to call it Maths Quiz. So if you right click on the solution, go to add, new project. Again, hopefully the Visual Basics Windows Forms app will be available. Click next. We're going to call this Math Quiz. Allow the default location. Again, version 8. And click create. It takes a few seconds to create the project. It's got a few files that it needs. And then hopefully the designer will load successfully. But it doesn't, so let's save the solution. We shall close the solution. We shall close Visual Studio and reopen it. Click yes. I've got mine running as administrator, so you heard a little ding. It was the prompt because it needs to run as administrator mode. Pick the solution. And then hopefully when we allow the solution to load, it'll load both projects that we've now got in this series, and we'll double click on the Maths Quiz and open the form, not the project settings. So we'll let the designer load and probably have to resize the form like we did to fit on the screen. And we'll give it a few more seconds to load. Fingers crossed it should. Yeah, so now if we just resize the form, because we don't really need to do much on this one, we're going to add a button on the form because we're just calculating random numbers. So we can just double click on the button, and again we'll get to the code. So we want to call first the randomize function to seed the random data, and then we want to use a message box, call the show command, and we're going to want to show a random number. So we'll call the rand function. Commission calculator, you may see, is the default app there. We're going to change the starter byte into Maths Quiz and then press play, and it'll take a few seconds to build because it's the first time it's building. As you can see, it's output a Maths Quiz DLL and it's got a form, and if we press on button 1, you can see that it's created a random number. Now this random number is between 0 and 1. It's not particularly helpful being a decimal for this example, so instead we're going to turn this into a number between 1 and 10. So to do that, I'm just going to comment out the first piece of code we'll use, just so you've got that in the sample code when you download it. And then instead we're going to call random, but we're going to multiply that by 10, and then we're going to plus 1, and then rerun the app and wait for that to load. And when we click on the button, we can see that we've got a number now that's a whole number. Press it again, we've got 3, so it's now between 1 and 10 instead of between 0 and 1. So that's okay, but we'll probably want to convert that to an integer. So in VB6 and in VB.NET we can call the int function, and that takes in a number and basically chops off the decimal points. So if we run again the form, you can now see that we're getting just an integer instead of a floating point number, and this will help for the next stage of this lesson. So we've managed to generate a random number between 1 and 10. We now want to create some options on the form to ask the user a question. So let's add some text boxes to the form. And we can do that by just double clicking the text box twice. Rearrange this, and we're going to rename these to question 1. Scroll back up to the name of the control, and then we're going to call the second one question 2. So we have two inputs. We want to generate two different random numbers. So we'll go back to the code. We'll say question1.text, and then we can use what we had before to generate a random number between 1 and 10, and then we can copy this line, change it to 2, and use the same functions that we used for question 1. Let's rerun the app, press a button, and you can see that it's creating random numbers for each of the questions. So that's great. We have the two inputs. We now want to create an output. So firstly, button 1's not a great text for that, so we'll change this to ask me now. And then we're going to add another text box and control to provide the answer. So highlight the controls, copy paste, and then just move these roughly into position for now. And then change the button text to be check my answer. And private spell, that'd be dangerous, check my answer. And the button needs to be a bit bigger to fit all of the text on the screen. So we'll move this and save. So if we jump back into the code, we want a way to be able to take the values from the questions and produce the answer. So for this we need to dim up a variable. Now you may have used dim in VBA, in VB.NET, which is the same. You want to allocate some memory for this. So we're going to say dim answer as integer. And you can see there's various different integer types. We'll just use the basic one for now. And then we can say answer equals, and then we can get question1.text, and we can add that to question2.text. But you might be thinking in previous lessons, yep, we took the text value and converted it so that it could actually be added together. Now we've got the answer, but we need to show this somehow, so let's just do a message box, call the show function, and we'll pass answer to this, and then we can run the app. So we can now check that the code that we've written is calculating the answer as expected. So we've asked me the question, that's 10 plus 1, which is 11. We'll do that again. 8 plus 5, 13. Do it again. 6 plus 4 is 10. So we can see that our calculation is correctly calculating the two random numbers that have been generated and adding them together and returning them. Now, instead of telling the user the answer, we'll probably want to ask the user the answer and check if it is the correct answer. So for this, I'd already copied the controls onto the form. We're going to rename these to something more appropriate. So we'll say user answer. And then for this, we want to then check the answer. So for that, I'm going to hide again the controls. And we want to use that information that we got from the first click. So we're going to move these checks down from the first button into the second. We're going to hide the message box because we don't need it now, and we're going to reuse something we learned in the last lesson. So we're going to use the if-then statement. So if the value of the user answer .text is equal to answer, then we know we've got the correct answer. So I mentioned would be writing comments in this, and you've seen I've already used the comment syntax. We'll just do a single quote. This comments out the code and makes it usable so that the user can see it, but not runnable as actual code. So we're going to say in this if statement, the answer is correct, because we know that the value of the answer that the user's provided matches the answer that we've calculated. But what if it's not correct? Then we can just use an else, and we can add another comment and say answer is incorrect. Now that's helpful for us as a programmer, but not helpful for the user using the program. So why don't we do a message box to show that this is correct? And you can type whatever you want in here, but I'm just going to say correct. And then as I'm lazy, I'm going to copy and paste instead of typing it out. And I'm going to say incorrect. Now, this would be helpful to actually show the user what the value actually was, so that they can learn from it. So you can say not correct. The correct answer is, and then we can concatenate that with the actual answer that we've calculated before. So that's string concatenation, the ampersand, and we're joining the answer that we've calculated before and added it to the string. So if we run this app again, we shall show the screen. Now ask me, it's generated 2 random numbers. We'll put 16 in there and say check my answer. And we've got the else branch here that says not correct, the answer is 15. Try another one, so 1 plus 6 is 7. Check the answer, and we can see that we're this time correct. So we've gone into the first if statement and returned the correct answer. So that's it for lesson 3. Join us next in lesson 4. Thanks.